Last month, I was working the night shift in this little Midwestern town. I wanted to show everyone I could be a good cop. The streets were quiet, lined with brick storefronts and homes. Still, I felt something was off, like something was lurking in the shadows. One chilly night, I was patrolling the main square. I heard shuffling footsteps echoing off the bricks. I thought maybe it was a stray animal, but a chill ran down my spine. I checked the area, but nothing was out of place. That feeling of unease didn't leave me. As weeks passed, those footsteps became familiar in a creepy way. Every night I heard them, quick shuffling sounds that seemed to follow me. I started seeing shadowy figures out of the corner of my eye. I'd turn, and there was nothing. Whispers floated in the air, like someone was talking just above a whispering breeze. I couldn't catch the words, though. One night I found strange symbols scratched into a park bench. My heart raced then. They looked too deliberate to ignore. I tried to brush it off at first, but dread started creeping in. Residents came to me, talking about missing pets. They asked if I had seen anything strange. I hadn't, not really, but I felt their fear, and it echoed my own. Then everything changed one night. I parked my cruiser under a flickering street lamp and stepped out. The square was empty. I could hear the faint murmurs again. It was like the wind carried voices right to me. I swung my flashlight around, searching for signs. The whispers grew softer, but kept nipping at my heels. I turned quickly, waiting for someone to be there, but just the wind met me. My heart was thumping. The final moments of my shifts felt heavier. The air around me seemed thicker with every step I took. Then one night, as I walked toward the park, chills raced up my spine. I spotted a figure in the shadows. My instincts kicked in. Maybe it was a prank, maybe just a lost kid, but I wasn't sure. So I called out, "Hey, is someone there?" No response. The figure stood silently. I stepped closer. It stepped back, disappearing further into the darkness. I wanted to turn and run. I felt it want me to, yet something pulled me closer. Then the whispers became louder. They formed a question. My name. "Mike," they called softly. I stopped. It felt unreal. I turned sharply, and then I heard it again, footsteps right in front of me, moving closer. I wasn't sure why I didn't turn back. I felt drawn to the figure. Stepping into the shadow felt like crossing into another world, one where I might not belong. I took another step forward, deep into the night. I couldn't shake that uneasy feeling, but I had to see what was waiting in the dark. The darkness closed in as I moved forward. I could feel my heart racing. The whispers urged me, not with aggression, but with a strange invitation. My fingers trembled as I gripped the flashlight tighter. The beam danced across the ground, catching glimpses of what might have been footprints, fresh and claw-like. "Mike!" it called again, clearer this time. It was no longer just a whisper. It felt like it was part of the night itself. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to run, but an overpowering curiosity held me. I stepped closer, toward a wall of shadows that seemed to pulse with life. My breath hitched when I detected movement. The figure materialized again, just visible against the backdrop of darkness. It was slender, its features distorted in the poor light. I strained to make out anything familiar, but it was just a silhouette, shifting and flowing like smoke. It pointed a long finger to something behind it, deeper into the park. I took a deep breath and forced myself to step forward. "What do you want?" I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. My question hung in the air, swallowed by the quiet. Then, without warning, the street lamp flickered violently and went out. Darkness enveloped me, and the air grew cold.
Panic rose in my chest, but I had to stay calm. I pointed my flashlight at the fading figure. For a moment, it looked like it was smiling, or maybe grimacing, hard to tell in the shadows. I heard voices again, this time more distinct, hushed conversations. It seemed like they were discussing me. Words like danger, lost, and help buzzed around me. I stumbled back, my pulse quickening. Were they warning me? About what? Suddenly, I felt a chill wind sweep through the park, carrying with it an overwhelming sense of dread. The whispers intensified, almost turning into shouts in my head. I felt a presence behind me. I swung around, shining my light, but found only deep shadows blanketing the ground. Then I noticed movement in my peripheral vision. I turned quickly to find a rusted old swing set creaking under the weight of invisible hands. My pulse raced. No one was there, just the ghostly whispers and that lurking figure. Fear gripped me, yet I couldn't turn away. That's when I saw it. A shape formed in the shadows, something small and crouched by the swing. A flicker of movement caught the flashlight beam. My breath caught in my throat. It was a creature, its eyes glimmering in the dark like dying embers. I was frozen, not sure whether to approach or retreat. Just then, the figure stepped out from the shadows, closer now. My mind raced. Was I in over my head? I needed answers, but they slipped through my fingers like sand. A sharp cry pierced the air, and I turned toward the source. Instinctively, I sprinted toward the source. Whatever was happening was getting worse. I had to find out what it wanted. I had to uncover the truth buried within this night. I dashed through the darkness, adrenaline flooding my system. My feet pounded against the gravel path as I zigzagged deeper into the park. The cry echoed again, sharper and more desperate. I could feel its urgency. It was human, or at least close enough. "Hello?"
I shouted, hoping my voice would cut through the night, but only silence answered. The shadows pressed against me, alive with every disquieting thought. What if whatever made that sound had met a terrible fate? I had to know. I reached a clearing, the moonlight spilling down like a pale hand beckoning me forward. There in the center was the swing set, motionless. I could still feel the echoes of the creaking, a memory lingering in the air. I spun in a circle, scanning for any sign of movement, but only the rustling leaves whispered back. Then I spotted something on the ground near the swings. I knelt to get a better look. It was a small piece of fabric, torn and frayed, mottled with earth. My heart dropped. It looked like part of a child's shirt. Panic seized my chest. I had seen enough strange happenings in this town to know that nothing good ever came from lost things. Just as I picked it up, a sharp rustle came behind me. My instincts kicked in, sending chills down my spine. I stood abruptly, gripping my flashlight tightly. A figure emerged from the shadows, the same slender shape that had beckoned to me before. This time it was more defined, more solid. The creature tilted its head, studying me with those dim, ember-like eyes. I couldn't tell if it was advocating for help or hiding a more sinister agenda. It pointed again, this time toward a cluster of trees at the far end of the clearing, its gesture fluid and mesmerizing. "What do you want?" I whispered, feeling foolish as if it could understand, but it just stared, then beckoned again, pulling me closer. My feet moved before I could think. Curiosity was overpowering my fear. As I approached the trees, I noticed another strange form half buried in the underbrush. My heart plummeted as I realized it was another piece of clothing, a tiny shoe this time, covered in mud. A tight knot formed in my stomach.
Then I heard the whispers again. Some were warnings, some were pleading. "Help him," they urged, rising and falling like a wave in my mind. I backed away, feeling everything spiral into chaos. The slender figure watched me carefully, clearly wanting something, but I didn't know how to decode its message. Before I could react, the swing set erupted into a cacophony of sound, chains clanging violently, the swings flailing as if caught in a gust of wind. I jumped, instinct pressing me to flee. But I was too late. A blinding flash lit up the park, radiating from the tree line where the creature had pointed, and before I could process what was happening, I heard the unmistakable sound of a child crying, trapped somewhere in the depths of the woods. Desperation surged within me. Something was very wrong, and I could either turn back now or plunge deeper into the night. The question was, would I be able to handle what I might find? I couldn't just stand there. My instinct screamed at me to move. The cries grew louder, and each echo twisted the knife of urgency deeper into my gut.
I stepped toward the tree line, hesitating for just a moment when I felt the creature behind me. Its eyes glowed like embers, urging me on. "Wait!" I shouted, turning back, but it was already gone, swallowed by the darkness. Alone now, I turned back to the trees. Shadows loomed like sentinels, and fear clutched at my throat. I crept forward, the underbrush crackling beneath my feet. Each step felt heavy, as if the ground was warning me against what lay ahead. The cries were distressing, each note breaking my resolve. "Help him!" I thought I heard again. Was it the whispers still swirling in my mind, or my own growing panic? As I ventured deeper, I found myself in a small clearing where the trees parted like curtains pulled back. Moonlight streamed down, illuminating a makeshift play area littered with toys, but the atmosphere turned thick with dread. Everything looked abandoned and forgotten, the colorful plastic warped by the years of neglect. My flashlight flickered across the ground and caught sight of another item, a teddy bear, drenched in mud. Its glassy eyes met mine, and a chill ran down my spine. I stepped closer, heart racing. Another piece of the puzzle, but instead of answers, it brought more questions. Where was the child? The cries turned desperate, fraying around the edges with each passing moment. I felt sick. With a sudden surge of courage, I called out, "I'm coming! Where are you?" Silence fell again. Just when I thought my heart would pound out of my chest, the cries shifted. They weren't distant anymore. They were right here, next to me. I spun around, searching for the source, but found only darkness. Then I saw it, a shadow moving just beyond my reach, weaving through the trees. I took a step toward it, adrenaline spiking. "Wait!" I yelled again. The figure paused, as if gauging my resolve. I couldn't make out its features, but I felt a pull, a connection. I moved closer, desperate to discover what it wanted to show me. Suddenly, a new sound pierced the air, a snap of twigs, heavy footsteps crashing through the foliage behind me. They came closer, fast. My heart raced as I turned, my flashlight slicing through the dark, illuminating nothing but more trees. Then came the voice, a low, rumbling whisper that sent a chill through the clearing. "You should not have come here." Panic flooded my senses. I stumbled backward, trying to find my footing. I was too deep now. I could either stand my ground or run. As I weighed my options, the figure darted into view again, ushering me to follow. "Please," I whispered, torn. I needed to help the child, but what if it was leading me into a trap? Just as I decided to take another step, everything faded into darkness.
Suddenly, I felt the unmistakable grip of a hand on my shoulder. My breath hitched in my throat, and I froze, ready to face whatever nightmare lurked behind me. My flashlight beam swept over a figure, tall, shadowy, but humanoid. Fear clawed at my insides as I took a step back. My heart raced, pounding like a drum against my ribcage. "Who are you?" I managed to say, my voice trembling. The figure didn't respond, but instead tilted its head as though trying to understand my fear. The moonlight barely illuminated its features, but I could see its eyes, dark and deep like endless pits. "I'm not here to hurt you." The voice was low, gravelly, but strangely soothing against the chaos swirling inside me. "I can't leave. Someone needs help." I felt the desperation spill out. "A child is crying. I heard them." The figure stepped closer, breaking the distance between us. "You don't understand. The forest holds memories. It remembers." With that, it gestured toward the shadows behind it. I squinted, horror gripping me as I caught fleeting images of laughter and tears flitting across the dark like echoes of a different time. "What are you saying?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "What memories?" It pointed again, a finger directed toward the play area. "Those toys aren't just junk. They've witnessed things. The child you hear, they are part of this." I could feel an icy pit forming in my stomach. "So they're gone? The child is lost?" "Not lost, bound." The gaze held mine with an intensity that made my skin crawl. "Then what do you want from me? Why bring me here?" The figure lingered in silence before it answered. "You have a choice." It stepped back into the shadows, becoming a silhouette against the canvas of moonlight. A bitter wind stung my face as I stood paralyzed. Could I walk away knowing a child needed help? But what if diving deeper only put me in danger? The cries morphed into pleading, and my heart surged. "Wait!" I shouted, shoving past doubt. I would not leave a child behind. As I advanced toward the shifting shadows, a rush of energy surged through me, fueled by desperation and resolve. Then I tripped, falling hard on the damp ground. My flashlight flickered and went out. Panic enveloped me as darkness crashed in. I fumbled for my pocket, gripping my phone. I turned on the flashlight, a dim beam illuminating the teddy bear again, the mud still caked on its fur. That's when I saw it, a small handprint, fresh and sticky, smeared on the toy. A sickening realization washed over me. The cries were real, but how could a child still be here, tied to this forsaken place? Before I had time to process, silence swallowed the clearing again. I felt an ominous weight press down on me. Someone or something was close, and I was no longer alone. The darkness felt alive, thick and suffocating, wrapping around me in a way that made my skin prickle.
I took a deep breath, swallowing back my fear. The cries had faded, but the weight of something unseen pressed on my chest. I fought the urge to scream, focusing on the beam of my phone's light. I swept it across the area, searching for any signs of movement. That's when I heard it again. Soft sobbing, more distinct this time. It came from somewhere deeper in the woods, past the play area where the remnants of childhood lay scattered. The sound was haunting, like a fragile thread pulling me into the abyss. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding weaker than I intended. "Is someone there?" The sobs stilled for a moment, replaced by an unsettling quiet. I strained to listen, hoping for a response. Instead, a scratching noise came from behind the swings, like fingernails scraping against the old rusty chains. Anxiety twisted in my stomach, and I took a cautious step forward. "Please, if you can hear me, say something," I urged, my heart racing again. What if I was chasing a ghost? What if I was about to make things worse? Then, from the shadows, something moved. A small figure emerged, clutching a worn blanket. My breath caught in my throat as I realized it was a little girl, wide-eyed and trembling. She looked like she had stepped out of a story, hair wild and tangled, clothes torn. "Are you okay?" I asked, crouching down to her level. The beam from my phone chased away some darkness, but it couldn't rid the chill that enveloped us. Instead of answering, she pressed her index finger to her lips, shushing me. "They can hear you," she whispered, glancing nervously to the thick trees around us. "You shouldn't be here." A knot formed in my chest. "But I'm here to help you. Did you call out? I heard you." She shook her head. Fear ignited her eyes. "Not me. It's the others." "Others? What others? Are they with you?" The girl looked down, shivering. "They're all around. Some stay hidden, but they want you to leave. You need to go." Before I could respond, the air shifted. A gust of wind blew through the clearing, and the shadows around us seemed to deepen. It felt as though the forest itself was reacting, whispering threats. I peered around, uncertainty clawing at me. "Please, we need to find a way out," I said to the girl, desperation in my voice. "We need to—" Then her wide eyes locked on something behind me, and her expression crumbled into terror. "It's too late!" she screamed, just as a cold breath swept over me, chilling me to the bone. I turned, but there was nothing. My heart slammed against my chest, a drum roll of dread. The shadows where the figure once loomed twisted, darker and more menacing. I felt a presence, heavy and suffocating. "Run!" I shouted, grabbing the girl's small hand, adrenaline coursing through me. I didn't know what we were running from, but instinct screamed that we had to leave.
As we dashed toward the forest's edge, I glanced back, and that's when I saw it. It was watching from the trees, eyes gleaming in the darkness, waiting for us to falter. I had to find a way to confront this looming threat if we stood a chance of escaping. We burst through the dense trees, the underbrush tearing at our clothes. I could hear the rustling behind us, the unmistakable sound of something large moving through the forest, pursuing us. The little girl tugged my hand, her grip surprisingly strong despite her size. I knew we had to reach the safety of the main path. "Keep going," I urged, my voice strained but firm. "We can't stop now." The moonlight broke through the branches ahead, illuminating the way just enough to keep my focus. My heart raced, a frantic beat underscoring our escape. I could feel the weight of whatever was chasing us, a malignant shadow lurking just out of sight. As we reached the edge of the woods, I spotted the play area again, the swings creaking in the breeze, waiting for the ghosts of the children who once played here. But I didn't stop. We darted straight towards the path that led out of the park. "Are they still behind us?" I asked breathlessly. The girl glanced back, her eyes wide with fear. "They don't like the light," she gasped, as I shone my phone flashlight behind us. For a moment, the bright beam flickered through the trees. I thought I caught a glimpse of something darting away, but it was gone before I could be sure. "What do you mean? Who are they?" I pressed, trying to keep her talking, to distract us both from the fear suffocating us. "The Dark Ones," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They want to keep me here." We reached the path, the familiar gravel crunching under our feet, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. I looked around, half expecting to see something emerge from the shadows, but all I found was an eerie silence. Then, without warning, the little girl froze, her eyes locked on a figure that stood at the curve in the path. A tall silhouette, outlined against the faint light of the street lamp shining down from the entrance of the park. My stomach dropped. I couldn't make out any features, but the shape felt wrong, unnatural. "Who's that?" I asked quietly, pulling the girl closer. "I don't know, but we shouldn't stay." Tension hung between us as I raised my phone, illuminating the figure. The light revealed nothing but empty air, and when I turned back to the girl, she was gone. Panic surged through me, hijacking my thoughts. "No! Where are you?" I shouted, searching the shadows frantically. I could feel a warm spike of fear settle in my gut. "Stay close!" Something rustled behind me, a whisper of movement too fast to catch. I spun around just in time to see a shadow blend back into the trees. That dark presence returned, creeping nearer, and I could sense its intent was malign. Without thinking, I sprinted towards the last place I had seen the girl.
"Where are you?" My voice echoed through the silence. Just as my heart sank deeper, I stumbled upon the blanket she had been clutching. It lay crumpled on the ground, like an offering left behind. Then the sobs returned, louder this time, echoing around me. They mixed with the rustling leaves and whispers, becoming a chorus of despair. My mind raced, trying to understand. What was this place, and why was the darkness moving closer, edging into the light? That's when I saw it. Something small darting between the trees, a flash of white fabric. Was it the girl, or something else? "Come back!" I yelled, my voice cracking. I couldn't let the darkness take her too. The forest felt like it was closing in, and I had to decide whether to follow or run back into the fading light of the path. I took a deep breath and bolted toward the flicker of white. My heart hammered against my ribcage, urging me on. The shadows closed in, but I couldn't stop. I had to know if it was her. I raced into the trees, their branches snagging at my clothes. My phone's beam of light bounced erratically, illuminating only brief patches of the ground, and then the figure vanished again. "Wait!" The sobs became clearer. They echoed all around me, wrapping around the trees and wrapping around my thoughts. "Please, I need you to come back," I shouted, desperation spilling from my lips. The darkness seemed to chuckle at my pleas, cold and mocking. As I pushed deeper into the woods, each step felt heavier. I turned, trying to get my bearings, and that's when I noticed the ground was different. The once familiar dirt path had transformed into something obscured. It was soft, too soft, not just dirt, but something slippery beneath me. My heart dropped. The forest floor was thick with wet leaves and moss, and I struggled to keep my footing. "Little girl," I called again, panic tightening in my throat. That's when I stumbled into the clearing. An ancient tree stood at the center, its gnarled roots twisted like fingers clawing at the earth. It felt alive, exhaling a dark presence that made me shiver. Beneath its branches, I spotted the girl's blanket again, but next to it, evidence of something dark and unfit for daylight. Old toys scattered around the base, broken dolls, rusted swings, things that looked like they had no right to be in such a pristine park. "Why are you hiding?" I felt foolish speaking into the empty air, but the sobs grew louder, not coming from where I expected. They seemed to drift from behind the tree. Against my better judgment, I walked closer. Something pulled at me, urging me to investigate. Suddenly, the sobbing stopped. An unsettling silence followed, wrapping around me like a thick fog. "Hello?" I whispered, dread creeping into my voice. "Are you okay?" No response, only an oppressive weight that hung in the air. I glanced back at the dim path we had come from. It felt miles away now.
Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted movement.
A shadow slithered along the edge of the clearing. I turned to face it, my hands trembling as I raised my phone. The beam illuminated the trees, but the shadow was gone as quickly as it appeared. Before I could process what was happening, I felt a rush of cold wind swirl around me, as if the trees themselves were breathing. My heart raced as whispers filled the air, swirling into an intelligible cacophony. I stumbled back, glancing around for the girl, but she was still missing. Just then, I noticed something glimmer beneath the tree, something white, like a piece of fabric. My pulse quickened. I rushed over, bending low to examine it. As I reached out, ready to grasp it, I heard a soft voice next to me. "Don't touch it." Frozen in place, I turned slowly. The little girl stood there at the edge of the trees, her eyes wide and filled with horror. "They're watching!" I opened my mouth to call her, but the words were stuck in my throat. The darkness shifted, whispering her name as if it were a song. The wind howled, and I felt the weight of the forest bear down on me, no longer just a backdrop, but a living entity intent on swallowing us whole. "Run!" she screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the darkness closing in. I knew then that whatever was behind me wouldn't let us go without a fight. I didn't need to be told twice. I turned and ran, the cold air hitting my face like a slap. The girl's small form darted ahead, her bare feet barely making a sound on the forest floor. I tried to keep up, but the trees seemed to stretch and warp in my peripheral vision, closing in like a never-ending tunnel. Every instinct screamed to look back, to see what was chasing us, but I didn't dare. The whispers grew louder, almost urgent, and I could feel the darkness latching on to my back like claws. It wanted me. "Stay close," I shouted to the girl, but the words felt hollow in the damp air. She was faster, her small frame weaving through the underbrush effortlessly. I focused on the flicker of her white dress until it was swallowed by shadows. She glanced back at me, her eyes wide with fear. "They know!" she cried. "They'll find us!" I stumbled over a root and nearly fell face first into the mud, pulling myself back up just in time. My breath came in ragged gasps, but I pressed on, fueled by desperation. If I could get us both out, if I could just keep running, maybe we'd escape whatever was haunting this place. As I pushed through the trees, the sobbing started again, but it was different this time, deeper, angrier. I skidded to a halt when I saw what lay ahead. Another clearing. This one was larger, illuminated by a sickly yellow light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Shapes flickered in the periphery, grotesque figures that advanced and receded like a mirage. The girl hesitated by my side, shifting nervously. "We need to cross," I urged, looking back to see the shadows from the forest creeping closer. "There's no way we can go back." Once more, we darted into the clearing. The ground felt alive beneath us, writhing, pulling at our feet, begging us to stay. I felt a pressure building around us, the air thickening as I breathed that sour scent, earth and decay. "Look!" The girl pointed to the center of the clearing, where the light was brightest. A rusted swing set stood there, creaking slightly, chains rattling like whispers in the wind. But attached to the swing was something that made my stomach churn. A figure, seemingly sitting in the seat, shrouded in darkness. "Help me!" a voice croaked from the shadows. It was familiar. "Mom!" I gasped, my heart jolting. It couldn't be. Not here. Not now. But the resemblance, the tone, it brought memories flooding back of a time I thought I'd buried. "Don't listen!" the girl shouted, her voice shrill with panic. "That's not her. That's how they trick you." I was frozen, caught in turmoil. I knew better,
but something in the darkness called to me, tugging at the corners of my mind. My hand shook uncontrollably, caught between reaching out or fleeing. Then I heard it again, the heavy whispers surrounding us, growing louder, demanding my attention. The swing creaked forward as if inviting me closer, the figure beckoning. The darkness pulsed, pressing in, and I felt my resolve fading. "Run, please, now!" the girl yelled, pulling on my arm. The urgency in her voice snapped me back. I needed to focus. We were never supposed to be here in the first place. I tore my gaze from the figure and pulled the girl along with me, sprinting toward the edge of the clearing as the whispers gave way to howls of rage. Then the ground beneath us trembled and split, revealing a darkness deeper than the woods themselves. Instinct took over. We leapt as the abyss opened wide, the sound of our lungs gasping filling the air. Then everything went dark. I don't know how long I was out. When I finally opened my eyes, the world felt disoriented, shadows lingering like a hangover. The cold night air wrapped around me, but there were no murmurs, no cries in the distance, not even the rustle of the trees, just silence. I pushed myself up, feeling the damp earth beneath me and a dull ache in my head. Blinking against the pale moonlight, I scanned the clearing. Empty. The swing set was gone, and so was the little girl. Just the echo of whispered breaths left behind, fading like a forgotten melody. "Hello?" I called out, my voice grainy and frail. No answer came. Panic surged through me. I scrambled to my feet and stumbled towards where the path had been, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I twisted and turned, heart racing like I was still being hunted. The trees seemed to watch me, tall and unyielding, waiting. I finally reached a familiar clearing, the layout feeling unnervingly normal, as if nothing had happened. It was just the park bathed in moonlight. The path led back toward the entrance, a flicker of hope igniting in my chest.
Could I have escaped it all? I hurried along the path, desperate to reach the street light at the edge of the park. My heart sank as I turned to catch a final glimpse of the woods. I could swear I saw a flicker of white darting between the trees, a phantom of a child. Was she supposed to be there? My mind spiraled. Had I really helped anyone? When I reached the streetlight, its glow felt like a sanctuary. I collapsed against the metal pole and took a moment to breathe. I tried to piece together the fragments, what had happened in the depths of the forest. I couldn't shake the confused whispers that beckoned me to stay, or the sweet laughter of a child lost in shadows. What was real, and what was merely a trick of the mind? My flashlight lay discarded near the swing set, forgotten where I had left it. I half convinced myself it was all a wild dream, a desperate illusion of a nocturnal coward, but the remnants of dread still clawed at me. The shadows faded back as I walked toward my cruiser, parked at the edge of the lot. I should have shown up with backup, but I didn't know how to explain my fears without sounding irrational. The townsfolk often thought I was just a watchful cop, but now I felt like a fraud, a man plagued by the demons in his own head. Yet that nagging thought persisted. What had happened to that girl? I still felt her small hand slipped in mine. Did I really leave her behind? Could I have done more? Worry twisted my gut. I lingered a moment longer before climbing into the cruiser and driving toward home, but the entire way felt disconnected, as if the world held its breath for the truth I just escaped. Weeks passed, and the park was always quiet, shadows flickering with each passing shift. I thought of going back, shining another light into the dark, looking for the child again, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Sometimes, late at night, while doing paperwork, I think I hear whispers just outside my window, soft, pleading, echoing in the darkness. I can't tell if it's a trick of the wind or my mind playing games. What if she's still there? What if the darkness still calls? I chose not to find out. I moved out of that town as the fear of its depths consumed me, but even now I can't fully close that chapter. Some days I find myself staring into the void and wondering if the darkness is still there, waiting for another foolhardy soul to walk into its embrace, leading them into forgotten memories of a child and the elusive whispers of the night.